Hello, welcome in everyone. So today we are doing trademark reviews again as we do every Tuesday at 5 p.m. on Pacific Standard Time. If you are in the room, please comment in the chat box where you're from. Let me know where you're from. I'm just interested in seeing who's interested in getting their businesses reviewed. So today I have a few trademarks to review, so I'm going to get into that in just a moment. I want to go over why it's super important to have a trademark because a lot of people are starting businesses and there has been a little bit of confusion of like whether you need a copyright or whether you need a trademark or what it is that you should be doing to protect your business. Of course, a lot of people know that they want to get a business entity form so that they're protecting their actual assets and making sure that their business is protected in that way. So that's usually done by having a corporation or LLC or something of that nature. Just give me one moment. Okay, okay. So, of course, get your business assets to make, or get your LLC or your corporation or your partnership to protect your assets. But what we're talking about is actually protecting your brand and protecting your brand name. Your business is your brand. So, that is why I like to talk about trademarks a lot because that is how you actually protect your brand. Okay. So, trademarks protect your brand identifier. So that's anything that you use to distinguish your brand from the brand of someone else that may be doing something similar as you. So that could be your brand name, it could be your logo, it could be your slogan. If you have any of those things, or if you have all three, or you have two of the three, or whatever you have that you use to protect your brand, that is what you want to think about getting trademarked. So I am going to jump right into the review, and I just need to pull up the people who applied to have their trademark reviewed. And again, if you are in here and you didn't apply to have your trademark reviewed, the link is pinned in the chat box and it's also in the description box. You can go ahead and apply, and if it comes through before the end of this live, then I will be happy to review it for you. And so the first trademark that I'm going to be searching for is for a podcast. So I know that that falls into class 41 for entertainment. So that's the main class you're going to want to focus on filing in. If you're doing some other things such as maybe like retail or I know it said something about ministry or anything, if those overlap, you might want to file in more than one class. But for the purposes of today, I am going to be looking into the entertainment class for podcasting. And before I get started, I do want to make clear that I am not giving legal advice. I am doing a simple search to check on a preliminary basis whether the name is actually available for educational purposes only. If you would like a further review into whether your trademark is, whether it will go through, you would want to consult with an attorney on an individual basis. Okay, so I'm going to skip the ID manual because I do know that podcasting falls into class 41. And so you will want to use the ID manual to figure out what class whatever you're selling falls into, whether it be a product or a service. So there may be another class for consulting or another class for selling t-shirts or another class for selling like book bags and things like that. So if you don't know what class that your actual product or service falls into, you can use the trademark ID manual to figure out what it is, where or what class that you actually need to file in. So I'm just going to go ahead and start the search here. And I have, it is called the Winning Circle Podcast. So I'm just going to type in the full name, and where I am is I'm on the uspto.gov website. And it's a free website where you will go and you will apply there. You'll have to pay for your application, but it is free to search your name to see whether it's available. So I'm just going to type in the Winning Circle Podcast. And nothing came back, which means that there is no registration with every single one of those words registered as one trademark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the word the, because it will likely be what is called disclaimed anyway. So let me just check Winning Circle podcast. And again, nothing came back. So there's nothing registered with those three words altogether. And now I'm just going to take off podcast because again, it will probably be deemed a descriptive term because you're doing a podcast and you're calling it podcast. So I'm going to search Winning Circle. And I have two things that come back. One is dead, so it would not really stop your registration, but it is still there because they may be out there still operating as a business, but they just haven't renewed their trademark yet. So the one that is dead is called Winner Circles Race Team Apparel, which is likely not going to conflict with you unless you plan on going into, they do franchising, technical assistance, establishment, retail stores. Okay, so as long as you're not operating retail stores, then they shouldn't really conflict with you. And again, remember, when you get in a trademark, you can't stop everyone in the entire world. They have to be doing something the same as you or very similar as you. So if someone's doing retail stores, that's not likely to conflict with a podcast, okay? So again, that will be something that you will want to go deeper into as well. And then I have the Winning Circle that is now, it is live. So it is registered. It was registered in 2003. And they are for arranging award ceremonies and parties for winners of foot races, of track and field events. And so the problem with this one is that it may fall into the same class, or it does fall into the same class as you because they are also in class 41. But even though you're in the same class, you may be still able to get it registered because you're doing different things. So they're arranging parties and ceremonies for track stars while you're doing a podcast, which is not likely to really overlap. But you definitely want to do more research into that to make sure that they aren't doing other things or they're not on social media, because that can also kind of conflict with a podcast as well. So as far as the exact name, the Winning Circle podcast, it is not registered, but the Winning Circle is pretty conflicting with yours, especially because it falls within the same class. So you will likely end up getting an office action, which an office action is a refusal of the USPTO to register your trademark. So they may give you an office action. You have the ability to fight back against it, and you have like 6 months to respond to it. If you're able to overcome the office action, there is a possibility that you can still get registered. But with this being so close, I would imagine that the examiner will likely issue an office action on this one. And then, so I also have step into your power. So let me go ahead and check that one out. So I typed in every single word, step into your power, and I got 5 things back. One is a couple of them are really long phrases that are a couple lines long. So those probably would not conflict with you just because they have so many words within them. It will be hard to confuse you with them. But then there are a few that one is step into the power, then one is step into your power, and then another one for step into your power. But that one's dead. And they're all dead, actually. So none of these will actually prevent you from being able to register, but they may still be out there operating, but they're just not operating with a valid trademark. So they would have what's called common law rights. So in the US, a trademark is automatically established as soon as you start using the name in commerce. Even if you don't register it, that person that's using it without the registration, they will still have priority rights, but then they have a higher burden to prove that priority right if you do get a registration. So just because it's not registered does not mean that it's in the clear if there's someone out there using a very similar name. So even if you don't see it registered, but you see someone else out there and they've been doing it for a long time, it might be best to just go ahead and avoid that. So I can't tell just by looking at the registration if they're still using it or how long they've been using it. We would definitely need to do a deeper search and like a full-on consultation to figure out if they're still out there. But as of on the USPTO, their registration will not there's no registration that will stop you with the exact step into your power. And so I'm just going to put step into power. So take off your and see what that one does. And that one brings back 6 records, and it's pretty much the same ones as step into your power. And there is one more that just says step into power. And that one is in class 41. And they are for leadership and executive development programs and a bunch of other stuff within the business realm. So again, that could conflict with you because we are in class 41. I'm not, yeah. So we are in class 41 for the podcast. So it could possibly conflict with you. And definitely we'll want to go deeper into how far you can distinguish the podcast from like business education services, which usually you can make an argument, but like I said, they're still likely going to issue that office action, which is going to delay the registration of your trademark if the examiner finds that you could overcome it, okay? And so I think I have one more on this one, the Winner's Connection. Okay, so let me try the Winner's Connection podcast. And let me just pop back over to see if I have any questions because I cannot see my screen right now. And no questions so far. If you have questions, feel free to drop it in the chat box and I'll get to it. But right now I have the screen kind of off to the side. So let me just pull back up the form. Winners Connection podcast. Nothing came back for Winners Connection podcast. I'm going to take off the and just try, and then nothing came back with that. And then I'm going to take off podcast and try Winners Connection. And nothing came back with Winners Connection. So let me try just Winner Connection without the S on the end. Oops. And again, nothing came, or no, it still did the same thing. This is doing some weird stuff here. Okay. Yep, so nothing came back for Winner's Connection. So that may be a good one to try to go with. Of course, you would still want to do like more research to figure out if there's anyone out there in the common law or just using it without a registration. But as far as being registered on the USPTO at this time, there is nothing registered under Winner Connection or Winner's Connection on the USPTO, which is the federal database for trademarks, which gives you protection across the United States. So that one is all done. So let me move on to the next one. And I have Cocoa Bloom. So let me check that one out. Let's see if anything pops up for Cocoa Bloom. And this is one that would need to have like a deeper search just because there's so many variations of the way that you can spell cocoa. With the first one, there won't be too many spelling variations and not a lot of things that may conflict with it that may be spelled like significantly different or because the USPTO, it only pops up things that are spelled the exact same as the way that you input them or a pretty commonly similar way that a person would spell it. So with this Cocoa Bloom, you would want to spell it so many different ways to make sure there's nothing that looks like yours or sound like yours that may be conflicting. But for the purposes of this YouTube live, I'm just going to do it in just the way that it's spelled on the form. And so it did automatically bring back 2 things for me, but the good thing is that they don't say like directly Cocoa Bloom. One is Sensei Cocoa Bloom. The other one is Rogue Cocoa Bloom. And then the Sensei one is dead. So that means that one would not stop the registration of your trademark. And I believe this is for health and wellness. Can't say that word, so I'm not going to pretend to because I always mess that one up. So let me just make sure that this all falls into the same class. Okay, let me just make sure it falls into the class that I think that it falls into. Apothecary. And it did not pop up, so wait, I might have spelled it wrong. All right. Yeah, so it's maybe I'm thinking this is something else than what it is. Because it's herbal apothecary. If you're in the room, if you can comment, what is this a actual product or is this just a service? Let me see if I get anything back. Yeah, just type in the chat and let me know if this is a service. So right now it's falling under retail apothecary store services. So I don't know if there's like different like herbal products that you're selling maybe in your store. So just for purposes of this, I'm going to do it under the services, and I'm also going to do it for whether you have products or not. So let me go back to the actual search. And again, I'm using the ID manual to figure out what class you should fall into. So I brought up the Rogue Cocoa Bloom, and let's see, this one falls into cosmetics, which I'm thinking if you do have a product, your products will likely fall into the cosmetics class, so they will be conflicting with you. Like I said, the good thing is that they do have a different word in front of it. It says Rogue Cocoa Bloom, so it's not exactly the same as yours, but again, it will be a similar situation where it will be most likely that the examiner will issue what's called an office action to you, basically saying that you can't register the trademark as is. You do have an opportunity to fight it and say why it is similar or why you think it should register. But again, there's no guarantee that it will actually go through. And so I'm just going to check out some different spellings to see if, like with COA, and see if anything pops up like that. But that's probably not how it's spelled, because that says COA, right? Let me just try co and then one with the A at the end. And then something did pop up with Cocoa Bloom, spelled COCOABLOOM. But it's cocoa, like hot chocolate, and it falls in like a hot chocolate class, so wouldn't likely conflict with you. But like I said, this one is one where you would want to do some like creative thinking of what ways you can spell this differently, especially with the word bloom and with the word cocoa. You can spell both of those a couple of different ways that may look different but may sound the same, and that would cause an issue. So feel free to drop some questions in the chat. Those are the only ones that I had to review today. I would be happy to answer like any questions you may have about like trademarks, why you need a trademark, how long is the process. I can let you know how long the process is. It usually takes 8 to 12 months to get your trademark registered, but always remember that trademark registration is not guaranteed. So it could be easily that you apply for the registration, but you don't actually get it. But the process, if you do get it registered, is 8 to 12 months. But right now, they have been pretty backed up. So it has been taking a little longer than 8 to 12 months. I'm waiting like 5 months or more to even get a response from an examiner. So they're really behind. So if you want to file a trademark and you want to have it by next year or mid next year, it will be a really good idea if you go ahead and start filing for your trademark as soon as possible, because like I said, they're really behind. And especially with these ones that I reviewed today, there are some like issues with them. So you would definitely want to speak with an attorney to see whether you will be able to actually trademark your trademark your brand. So I don't see any questions coming in. I think everyone that applied actually follows me on Instagram. So if you have any lingering questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram, or you can leave a comment below this video. So thank you for applying to have your trademarks reviewed, and I will see you guys in my next live or on Instagram or wherever you may find me.